Throughout horror history, we've received a ton of amazing horror movies. Some from the likes of Halloween, The Exorcist, The Shining, Psycho, and many more amazing movies. And within every horror movie's lifetime, they're just bound to be remade. So that raises the question, are the horror movie remakes just as good as the original, if not better? If you don't know the answer, then come on, rock with your boy Tech, and we're gonna look at some of the best and worst horror movie remakes. So let's get into it. What is going on, spooky gang? I hope y'all are having a blessed day, a great day. It's an amazing day to be recording this good old horror content for y'all. And I don't know if you noticed, but it is the middle of August and spooky season is right around the corner. It is coming right up on us. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the kid, because as we get closer to Halloween in October and all of the festivities, everything's gonna be going up. So the vibes for the spooky gang are gonna be jumping. So anybody that loves horror and loves horror movies, horror content, the horror lifestyle, this is the place to be. So go ahead, subscribe and like the video for your boy. Share the channel with your friends. The spooky gang is the best gang on the tube. So the more subscribers, the more exposure that this channel gets, the better everything is gonna be, and we just gonna keep this thing rocking. So like I said, go ahead, subscribe, like the video, and let's go ahead and jump into it. So today's video, like I said in the intro, is talking about the best and the worst horror movie remakes. This is a really interesting topic to me, just because, you know, all of us love some of our horror classics. Halloween has been remade, Friday the 13th has been remade, Nightmare on Elm Street has been remade. Just so many amazing horror movies have been remade, and a good fair share of some of them that are pretty solid movies, and then there's a fair share of ones that are pretty much dog shit. So it's gonna be interesting to see as we dive in and really look at these in depth. The first remake that I think is one of the best is Evil Dead from 2013. Evil Dead is such an amazing movie. I love everything about it. It's directed by Fede Alvarez. As good as the original is, I love the remake that much more. I feel like the remake is significantly more entertaining. There's more things that are going on. Jane Levy as Mia was really good, because in this movie, not only is she playing, you know, Mia, the human version, but she also, you know, and what makes this movie unique is the main Deadite looks exactly like her. So she, you know, it's pretty much an exact doppelganger of her. So being able to see that visually on screen looks really good. And the big thing that really makes me love this movie, besides, you know, all of the gore that we get to see, is how creepy overall and how much the Deadites actually do within this movie. You know, in my video talking about can a horror sequel be better than the original, I talked about Evil Dead being better than the original, and while I do think that is true, I still think that the original is a very good movie. But it's just certain aspects, like I said, with the Deadites and the Necronomicon, and honestly just the pacing overall is significantly better in 2013. It's a more fast-paced, even though you don't have iconic characters such as Ash and a lot of those other aspects, even including the story, which isn't too bad, really make up for that aspect of not having someone like Bruce Campbell in there. Sure, without any doubt, Evil Dead is definitely one of the best horror remakes that there is pretty much ever. And that's honestly why it's the top of my list and why it was the first one I mentioned. And that leads me into my second pick for best horror movie remakes, which would be Dawn of the Dead from 2004. Dawn of the Dead, the original by George Romero, is an amazing movie, really good movie. It came out in 78. 2004 came the remake, and it does a lot of what you love about the original, similar to the Evil Dead situation. It's just a faster pace, you know, more modern and likable characters. You know, when you're looking at the original film, it has more of a satirical tone, you know, critiquing consumerism and a societal collapse. But then when you look at the remake, it's more of a serious and intense approach. And a huge difference also that makes Dawn of the Dead, the remake, very good is the zombies are much faster than they were in the original. So that's what makes this movie unique. Both of them take place in the mall, so it's like story-wise, it's very, very similar. It's just for modern times, I feel like they really juiced it really juiced this movie up, and that's what makes it a very, very, very good horror movie remake. And my last choice for best horror remakes would be It from 2017. Now, all of us are very familiar and very aware of the It miniseries that came out in 1990. Amazing miniseries. It's long as hell, 3 hours. Not many people got time to just be sitting around for 3 hours watching a movie. But it's a really good movie overall. And everybody also knows Tim Curry as Pennywise. Tim Curry played the role fantastically in 1990. And so when 2017 comes around and they want to make the It remake, you best believe that you have to follow it up with something very, very, very strong. And that's exactly what they did. So with It 2017, you have Bill Skarsgård playing Pennywise. And the collection of kids, I think personally, is a step up above from the 1990 miniseries. Definitely feels like Stranger Things in a way, especially considering Finn Wolfhard is in it. But still, overall, it just really does a beautiful job of being able to capture like what the 80s and late 80s and all of that good stuff really looks like, especially from a kid perspective. And the big thing that I like about this movie also is you also get to see many different iterations of It, because the whole point of It is not Pennywise the clown. Pennywise the clown is just one of the iterations or versions or variations of It. It is something that transforms itself into whatever you're most scared of. So, the one kid that was scared of like the lady on the little painting or whatever. So that scene, that was great. Richie was already scared of clowns, so that kind of adds to Pennywise already being an entity. It works out perfectly for that. Like there's so many different types of It that you get to see. The leopard, there's so many different things that makes it great. And they really modernized things a lot. And the big thing when you're modernizing a movie, you want to make sure that you're still keeping a lot of the essence and a lot of emotion and atmosphere, if not amplifying those aspects in your new movie. Although with remakes you have the liberty to take a slightly different course and ways that you want to make the movie look, and so that it differentiates itself from the original. But at the same time, you can't make it where you twist everything to all hell and then they can't even recognize this as a movie that is even in the same franchise, let alone it being a remake. So that's the level of the balance that you have to make sure that you are very cognizant of. But in this movie, I feel like they did a fantastic job. It's a very good remake. Clearly not all remakes do this well, so it's definitely kudos in their point. Pennywise overall, the design, he looked very scary, he looked good, especially in the beginning sewer scene. And speaking of amplifying things and heightening them to a greater scale, them actually taking Georgie's arm off, and we get to see that. Like, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. That's the stuff that we love as horror movies. Like, we want it where, traditionally kids don't really get touched or hurt or anything in any significant matter. Obviously there's always the possessed kid and stuff like that. But in terms of like child brutality or anything like that, we don't ever get to see that. And you get to see that in this movie. And so that's just that extra layer of like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So really good movie, and it concludes some of the best of the horror remakes. Now, moving on to the worst horror remakes, starting out with Halloween 2007. Now, anybody that knows me and everyone who's familiar with the channel knows I'm the biggest Halloween fan of specifically Michael Myers himself as a villain. I love pretty much everything about Halloween. So when I was younger and I saw that Halloween was being remade in 2007, and I see this whole Rob Zombie thing, I'm like, I remember being in Target with my mom and I saw the DVD on sale. I think it was probably like $14.99 or something crazy. And my mom did not want to buy that for me. I don't know why, but she ended up caving in, and I ended up getting to watch it. And I remember as a child looking back on it fondly. You know, it was really cool to see more so what his life was like as a child. You know what I'm saying? Leading up to the events of him killing his sister. All you see is the first person point of view. You know, he goes upstairs, kills Judith, and calls it a day. But you get to see dang near like 30 minutes of this movie before he even gets to kill Judith. So that's what makes this movie unique. I loved seeing all of that good stuff in the beginning, but as I got older and more into Halloween and Michael Myers and the whole lore of things, the worse that movie got for me, honestly. The biggest flaw that I have with it is the fact that although it was kind of cool to see Michael Myers as a child and, you know, all of those things, but it made Michael Myers just your typical, basically, serial killer. You know, in every crime documentary or anything like that was based on a serial killer, they're always that killer that, you know, kill animals and stuff like that, and then they eventually work their way up to humans and all that good stuff. So it just really gave Michael Myers that same stereotypical serial killer, American serial killer that we all know of. Like, I mean, and that's what really takes away from the mystique of what Michael Myers is, because when you base things off the original, Michael Myers has no motive. And that's what makes Michael Myers so great and so scary, is they don't know why he killed his sister. They don't know why he kills to begin with. And it's just that, like Loomis says, that unconscious mind. And then as you move further into that movie, literally shot for shot remake the original, but nowhere near as good. And that's what makes Halloween 2007 one of the worst horror remakes. My second choice, and really this list is dang near gonna be about all slashers, honestly. My second choice would be A Nightmare on Elm Street. So the A Nightmare on Elm Street original came out in 1984, and then its remake came out in 2010. The biggest thing that's wrong with this movie is the person who played Freddy. Now, does our remake have to be exactly that? No. But when you get a goofy ass looking Freddy that looks like this, like, that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is that, bro? Like, it's just nonsense. And I don't know. Everything about that movie, nothing really resonated with me. The portrayal of Freddy was just so bad that there's no need to go into anything else. You know, we can dive into the story and the writing, the script, the actors, which weren't good. Like, we can go into all of that if we want to, but just the Freddy part alone, that pretty much sews that one up. So A Nightmare on Elm Street, you are one of the worst horror remakes for sure. And the last worst horror movie remake that I want to mention is Child's Play from 2019. Now, this movie as a whole isn't just pure horrible, but it is such a departure from what we got from 1988. It's dang near almost a completely different movie. They didn't really try too hard to try to copy like scene for scene and things of that nature. In these movies, he's more of a possessed robot kind of feeling, as opposed to where it seems like in the originals, it was literally a human trapped inside of a doll. Like, that's how it really felt in the original, as opposed to this one. It felt a little cheap and a little corny, and, you know, not really fully fleshed out or anything like that. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all, Spooky Gang. Y'all comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite horror remakes, and what do you think are some of the worst horror remakes. Like I mentioned in the intro, y'all go ahead and subscribe to the kid. We're on the road to 1K subs. We're just over about 650 subs, and the channel has been growing crazy lately. So let's go ahead and keep up the momentum, and y'all subscribe, y'all like the video, share the video, and let me know what y'all think of some of these horror remakes. But until next time, Spooky Gang, y'all stay blessed, and y'all already know, y'all stay spooky.